please be upstanding for His Honourable the Mayor and Deputy Mayor.
Please take a seat, thank you. Where's my script? Somebody taken my script. Right. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Council. My name is Councillor Adrian Mather. I'm the Mayor of Wokingham and I will chair this meeting. Before we start this evening, I would like to take a moment to say a few words about a fellow councillor, Councillor Norman Jorgensen, who very sadly passed away on the 26th of March. Norman made an important contribution to the council and the borough across his many years as a councillor. He was always polite and courteous and had a warm smile for all those he came into contact with. He will be missed by us all. I will be inviting councillors to pay tribute to Norman in a few moments. I would now like to ask councillors and everyone here present to stand and join me to observe a minute's silence to remember Norman and reflect on his huge contribution to the borough. Please take a seat. Thank you. Before we start the business set out in the agenda, I would like to go through a few preliminaries. Please note that the meeting is currently being webcast live. There are no fire drills planned this evening. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and gather at Muster Point 2, which is located in the car park at the rear of the building. A reminder that councillors do need to stand when speaking in the chamber, and when speaking, please speak directly into the microphone. If councillors turn away from the microphone, the sound will not be picked up for online attendees. Can councillors ensure that your nameplate is clearly displayed in front of you? And may I remind everyone that I intend to adhere strictly to the timings as set out in the Constitution. Are there any apologies?
Yes, the apologies are Jane Ainsley, George Evans, Catherine Glover and Bassett Alvey.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Rebecca, please go ahead.
Can I give apologies for Stuart Monroe as well, please?
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any declarations of interest?
Not a declaration of interest, Mr. Mayor, but a late apology, an apology for Jordan Montgomery.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Sorry, moving on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest for tonight's meeting? Thank you. Now we move on to tributes to Norman Jorgensen. I would now like to invite my fellow councillors to pay tribute to Councillor Norman Jorgensen. I have a list of councillors, so I'm going to start with Stephen Conway, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think I should also just start by reminding colleagues that besides losing Norman, we recently also lost Gary Cowan, no longer a member of council, of course, but many of you will remember Gary, who was a councillor over many years. He stood down in the 2024 elections, and I think we'll all be sad to know that he is no longer with us. Norman made many very important contributions to this council, both as an executive member and more recently in opposition. As you said, Mr. Mayor, he was always polite and courteous in debate. I don't recall him ever losing his temper. He brought his considerable intellect to bear on all the matters he considered. And though a Conservative through and through, he listened to others and approached every issue in a rational way. While I usually disagreed with him, I admired his political style. He seemed to me, as an outsider looking in, to be a very considerable asset to the Conservative group. He will surely be missed by his colleagues, not just in the Conservative group, but across this council chamber and beyond. I attended Norman's funeral last week and was struck not only by the number of people there from all parties, but by the appreciation for Norman's commitment to public service on both early town council and here at Wokingham Borough Council. It was a life of public service. But the loss of his colleagues and friends is, of course, nothing compared to the loss of his family. And I'm sure the whole council would want to join with me in expressing our sincere condolences to Pauline, David, Elizabeth, and little Finn. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Rachel Burgess, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to echo Stephen's comments about Gary Cowan, a champion of Arborfield for impressive 27 years, and our sincere condolences go to his family at this time. We were so sorry to hear the news of Norman's death. He served our borough for many, many years in his role as a councillor and on the executive, taking up several positions, including in children's services, environment and sports and leisure. And as part of his portfolio, he oversaw the development of Bullmarsh Leisure Centre and made an early school science block. And he also helped with the implementation of the weekly food waste collections, which was a major and really positive step forward for the borough. His calm and measured contributions as an executive member and latterly on scrutiny committees always demanded attention because of the weight of the consideration that had gone into them. Outside of the chamber, he also served as obviously a councillor in early town council as well. And it speaks volumes that he continued to support his residents for as long as he was able, and it makes his sudden passing even more of a shock to the chamber. By dedicating much of his life to council business, it was clear that he was determined to make Early in particular, but also the wider borough, a better place to live for everyone. We recognise a man driven by public service, and we are all grateful for his dedication and commitment. On behalf of our group, I'd like to extend our sincere condolences to Pauline and her family and to Norman's colleagues and friends. Thank you.
Stephen Newton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alongside Andy and I, Norman had the privilege of representing the residents of Maiden, Early and Whitegates on this council. Norman earned the respect and appreciation of those residents over the years. Norman was not somebody who sought the headlines. He had a quiet and unassuming manner, but he also had a keen intellect, a rich, if dry sense of humour, and his contributions would always have been considered and carefully thought through. May I offer my sincere condolences to Pauline, Norman's family and friends, and may I say, Norman, thank you for your service. You will be missed, but you will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Alison Swaddle, please.
I know that all who speak this evening will emphasise Norman's legacy of kindness, dedication and commitment to serve his residents. He's clearly left a lasting impression on everyone he interacted with, and being a respected figure across the different groups speaks volumes about his character. I first served with Norman on Early Town Council, which he led, and then on the borough. Norman was a lovely man. He cherished his wife Pauline and his growing family. He loved his garden. He enjoyed cycling, swimming, and his cars, and he always welcomed us all to his home. I remember him skillfully barbecuing for a huge number of guests, and he certainly ensured we celebrated Burns Night in proper Scottish style. As a lead member and a ward councillor, he worked very hard. Norman's reputation as a straight, sensible speaker who delivered on his promises is testament to his integrity and reliability. He was always a man of his word, an admirable quality in anybody, particularly a politician. His ability to follow through on his commitments earned him a great deal of respect and trust within the community and also with his colleagues. Here in the chamber, Norman may have spoken quietly, but he spoke with determination, and he was always thoughtful and very well informed. He was always worth listening to, as he made his points effectively without any waffling. As a lead member, Rachel has already summed up, he brought in the new science block at Maiden Early School, the redevelopment of Bullmarsh Leisure Centre in Woodley, and the introduction of food waste collections, and he was rightly proud of bringing these to fruition and seeing the real benefit to local people. Norman was not only a respected colleague, but he was a good and supportive friend who inspired and guided us all. New candidates and the more experienced, we've all benefited from his advice. It's always so difficult to lose someone who's been such a positive force, and Norman will be deeply missed by all of us who knew him.
Shahid Yunus, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dear fellow councillors, we are here, gathered here with a heavy heart to honour the life and legacy of one of our own, our colleague, our dear friend, Councillor Norman Jorgensen. Norman was so much more than a councillor. He was a devoted public servant, an accomplished scientist, and above all, a kind-hearted human being who served others with quiet strength, dedication, and compassion. Norman became borough councillor for the first time in 2007. Since then, his contributions were as broad as they were meaningful. Whether it was introducing food waste collections, leading the creation of Bullmarsh Leisure Centre, where I was heavily engaged with him as a local councillor, or championing the development of Ghost Ride and Phoenix Crescent. His fingerprints are all over the progress our borough has made. As an executive member for Children's Services, he helped deliver a new science block and Maiden Early School, just one example of his enduring commitment to education and future generations. Even as he bravely battled cancer, Norman remained active, responding to residents, engaging in council matters, and offering guidance. That's who he was, steadfast, compassionate, and always present. As we reflect on Norman's legacy, we are gently called to look inward and ask ourselves, what will be our legacy? When our time comes to a close, will we be remembered for our titles and affiliations, or for the compassion, service, and integrity we brought to our roles? Because in the end, it is not about how high we rise, but how meaningfully we uplift the communities we are privileged to serve. I extend my deepest sympathies to Pauline, his life partner, his son David, Elizabeth, and grandson Finn. Your loss is shared by a community who will remember Norman not just for what he did, but for who he was, a calm voice, a wise leader, and a dear friend. Rest in peace, Norman. May God bless your soul and bring comfort to your loved ones during this difficult time. Thank you.
Dave Edmonds, please.
I first met Norman Jorgensen around 10 years ago, when I became more actively involved in the Wokingham Conservative Association. We served together as officers of the association, and it wasn't long before we became good friends. It was truly a privilege to work alongside Norman. He had a rare blend of wisdom and integrity, and when combined with his sharp sense of humour, he was a joy to be around. Some of my fondest memories of those moments when a twinkle in his eye signalled a well-timed remark, always thoughtful, often funny, and delivered with unmistakable warmth and charm. But above all, Norman was a kind man. That kindness, together with his deep sense of public duty, is what I admired most about him. Despite the pressures of a successful professional career, he always found the time and the energy to give back to his community. He served with a quiet distinction as both a town and borough councillor, embodying everything a community leader ought to be. When my own time in this chamber comes to an end, if I can say that I've made even half the contribution that Norman has, I will leave here happy and content.
Moses Ian Gumna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't known Norman for as long as many people here, but I've known him for a few years. It's like known him forever. Today we pay tributes to the life of a remarkable and unassuming individual, as many have testified, whose unwavering support and belief shaped the very foundation of my political journey only a few years ago. Norman was an avid supporter and helped to plan and organize my first campaign for the town and borough council elections in 2023, when I was a complete political novice. His dedication to a shared vision of the likelihood of success spurred me on in what for me was a completely unfamiliar terrain. His meticulous planning, organization, strategy, and tireless efforts scheduling the canvassing and delivering sections, together with others who had the privilege of working alongside him, turned what seemed like a vain attempt into reality when I got elected to Early Town Council in 2023 and into the Borough Council at second attempt in 2024. His contributions to my first campaign will forever be etched in my memory. I've read tributes by others about him that resonate with my observations. His calm demeanor and patience during meetings typifies the virtue of one that is slow to speak and quick to listen. His contributions will be precise and almost like a summary and conclusion on the matter. As we bid farewell to Norman at this chamber, let us resolve to honor his legacy by continuing the works he held so dear, strives to uphold the values he championed and the vision he passionately pursued, while we embrace our different political persuasions for the public good. Finally, I will forever remember that cold Saturday morning in the winter of 2023, when out of the blue, Pauline asked the question, will you consider standing for the local election? Norman looked at me with some reassurance that it can be done, all stemming from an innocent conversation about the mystery surrounding the subject of mathematics during the canvassing section. Like they say, the rest is history. Coming to rest in peace, Norman. Your memory lives on.
Thank you, members. Before we move to the next agenda item, as Stephen and Rachel have said, it is also with sadness that I share to members that Gary Cowan, a long-serving former Woking Borough Councillor, died last month. I'm sure members will wish to join me to pause and remember the contributions Gary made to the borough and to the local people. our condolences go to Gary's family. I believe there are no public questions. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is waste collection and street cleansing. The Chief Executive will be making a statement which clarifies the legal and constitutional position in relation to this item before we begin our consideration.
Thank you, Adrian. As the Mayor has referenced, I would like to clarify the constitutional and legal position regarding the waste collection and street cleansing service contract. So firstly, the legal implications for this item are incorporated within both Part 1 and Part 2 reports, which members will have read. The Part 2 section of the report contains confidential information and as a result is exempt from disclosure under paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Should members wish to speak on any of the information included in the Part 2 section of this report, they must indicate this to the Mayor. Any discussion of the information contained in Part 2 must be undertaken in private session. The Council's current constitution at paragraphs 5.1.9.4 and 13.3.1.1 state that full Council have the power to approve expenditure above certain levels that would apply to this contract. This does not mean that Council has an unlimited choice who to award this contract to. Instead, members must take note and follow the outcome of the procurement process as outlined in the reports. Members are directed to the recommendations as set out and explained in the report.
Thank you, Susan. I understand Councillor Stephen Conway is proposing this report. Is that correct?
It is, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Katrine. Stephen, would you like to speak to the report? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure members will have noted the statement by the Chief Executive and will be guided by it in considering this item. The recommendations before you are the culmination of work stretching over many months and painstaking attention to the rules of a legally prescribed process. Our officers have carried out their work in an exemplary way, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude. Due process has been followed throughout in compliance with the requirements of competitive dialogue procurement. The process has not only been rigorous, it has been open and transparent. Progress was regularly reported to the Cross-Party Community and Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee. All member briefings were arranged, and leaders of the Conservative and Labour groups received detailed updates. At no point in all this member involvement were objections raised to the way that the process was being conducted. I hope, therefore, that members will be content to sign off on this procurement process and will join with me in thanking our officers for their hard work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Stephen. Does any member wish to speak against this report? No, nobody. I can't see anybody indicating. Okay, if there's nobody against, then we will move directly to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendations as laid out in the report, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. Abstentions? Thank you. Votes against? Thank you. The recommendations are carried. Thank you very much. This meeting is a very, very short meeting, and it's a very sombre meeting. I would like to ask every member to consider what I'm going to say now. I've worked across hundreds of organisations across 4 continents, including charities, and I've never seen an organisation which has no death in service benefits, except this council, which I believe applies to most councils, have no death in service benefits. I've asked the question whether it is possible to have death in service benefits, and I believe the answer is it is possible, but this is subject to the usual process and communications around the independent remuneration panel. With the increasing costs of funeral costs, I want everybody to think when they make contributions to the independent remuneration panel, if they would think that a group life policy would be relevant to cover things like funeral costs. Why am I saying all this? The person that I most respect as one of my bosses always says to me, who takes care of the situation after the event? And unfortunately, we've had 2 very long-serving, very hard-working councillors that have unfortunately died in service. Firstly Paul and then Norman, and there is no benefit payable, none. I just want to leave that thought with you. That is the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time.